Summer 2026 has been a historic season for the city. Reports show 1.4 million people poured into the city this summer to attend World Cup matches, the free Lemon Hill Fan Fest, America 250th on July 4th weekend, and the MLB All-Star Weekend. That also includes folks riding on SEPTA, drinking at bars, and running up the Art Museum steps. So, how did the city do with these major events? And was the city's investments worth it? I'm debriefing with Mayor Cherelle Parker down at City Hall. Plus, she talks to me about a new program launching in the fall and legacy projects she's hoping will define her time in office. It's Monday, July 27th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Mayor Cherelle Parker, thank you so much for being on CityCast Philly today and inviting us into this reception room. And just a reminder to our guests, you might hear some rumblings of the L and the Broad Street line.
This is true. This is true. Listen, there are some downsides to being the birthplace of democracy. I tell people all the time, yeah, historically that's great, but that also means that we're an old city and our infrastructure is old. So yes, you'll hear the Broad Street line and the L underneath us.
But thank you for taking the time to chat with me. Let's talk about 2026, summer 2026. The city pulled off major events, the World Cup, America 250th anniversary on July 4th weekend, MLB All-Star Weekend. Before we get into the numbers and the investments made and just the overall response from residents and visitors, have you taken a breath yet? And how are you feeling about such a busy summer for the city and a historic summer?
I've got to start by going back to what happened when I first arrived here and when I was sworn in as mayor. In 2024, January 2024, when I was sworn in, someone wrote an article. I don't remember who wrote it. I don't know if it was a podcast. Someone wrote that the city of Philadelphia is going to miss the mark on 2026. And they went back to like the bicentennial, like all of the milestone birthdays America has had and what Philadelphia has done. And then they said something that really pissed me off. They said, we lack leadership and ambition and vision to think big. Philadelphia doesn't have a legacy project. And then they started talking about legacy projects in the past. They started talking about the Ben Franklin Bridge and sort of right under, if you've ever gone to the Please Touch Museum in the park, under it you will see a model of what the city's investment was, that would eventually lead to the ultimate building out of the Please Touch. And it was like, yeah, Parker, what's your legacy project for the city going to be?
And how'd you respond?
And so, I said, I'm going to talk to the finance and the budget people here in the city and let me see. We've been preparing for 2026, forever. We knew that, 250 was coming. And I'm just getting here in January 2024. So let me see what's in the budget. Yeah, it's exactly what the response was when I asked what was in. For those who are listening and you hear the pause, that was exactly it. And talked to Rob DeBoe. And Rob DeBoe has been the finance director here in the city. I'm talking about through about 4 mayors. He worked with our former mayor and then governor, Ed Rendell, in the budget office in the state. And I said, what's in the 2026 budget? And he said, nothing. Sabrina Maynard is our budget director. Sabrina's like 0. I immediately go and have a conversation with my counterpart and our legislative leader, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, and say, Mr. President, people are going to say we're missing the mark. Is not a nickel in a 2026 pot. What are we going to do? And working in partnership with the City Council of Philadelphia under the council president's leadership, we secure $120 million for 2026 activities here in the city of Philadelphia. And then for those of you who know me, I'm a fixer. I'm a doer by nature. And I said, It's 2024. I only have 2 years. I can't build the Ben Franklin Bridge. I'm not going to be able to build the Please Touch Museum or anything like it. So I can't have a legacy brick and mortar capital investment project, but I can create a legacy experience. So they were saying, what's the legacy project going to be? I said, I can't do that, but I will have a legacy experience. And you all are young, so you may not remember what I'm about to say. There was a historic, legendary concert that occurred in Philadelphia called Live Aid years ago. I'm talking about with people from the UK. People from around the world came.
They came on the Parkway.
Yeah, it was, oh gosh, it was just amazing. And I said, I'm going to do that. So my vision was to respect our history. Mm-hmm. I wanted UK, America sort of relations so people will know we're all right. We're all right now, and we were able to work through it. I wanted diversity in terms of genre because it was important to me that every constituency in the city feel a part of it. And of course it had to be, as Philly can be. So obviously, all of our native sons and daughters who have succeeded in the industry, I wanted to showcase them. What was most important was that no matter who you were in the city, your zip code, your race, your class, your socioeconomic status, your religion, sexual orientation or identity, everybody had to feel a part of it. And guess what? We did it.
There was people having hoagies for the first time and making videos on that. People were having their opportunities to be on the Rocky Steps. Do you think that our visitors and our residents, do you think the perception of the city has changed now that we're coming out of these major events?
That's a really good question. So I want you to know that Philadelphia's a tough city.
It is.
All right. Mm-hmm. And that resilience and that grittiness, that underdog spirit, that's been a part of our nature and in essence defining who we are as a city. And you mentioned Rocky, of course, Rocky the movie, that from a cultural perspective, that legacy in Philly, it goes around the world. Think about
but we now have Joe Frazier at the bottom of the steps now that people
time,
can learn his story.
Real time. So, everything that Sly, Sylvester Stallone, everything that he did with Rocky, most of that was based on our real time, smoking Joe Frazier, who's ours, and how are we going to find a way to lift that up, right? So we move Joe Frazier from stateside down at the arena where he basically got no play, put him at the bottom of the art museum steps. Rocky stays at the top. So you come and visit and see the real deal and you go up the steps. Yes. People see us differently because they've experienced us. Even if they came for sports, they enjoy and they stayed for Philly. So we had a chance to show people exactly who we are. And I will say this to you, Philly. I know we have a gritty spirit. I know we define ourselves. I'm thinking about the Eagles when we won that first Super Bowl.
And that chant.
Hungry dogs run faster.
Yes.
Listen,
yes.
And the chant that went viral.
Yes.
All right. Listen, I created the cardinal sin. I misspelled Eagles, and we made it across the world. But we redeemed ourselves. Mm-hmm. It was amazing for Philadelphia to see itself that way. And no longer are we the underdog. We are a global destination city. We've proven that we could entertain and support a network of tourists coming from around the world. And when they get here, we make them feel at home. Culture, food, interactions by being and ensuring that we remain authentic. Nobody putting on any shows. The hoagies, I'm glad you mentioned the hoagies. We weren't saying, let's, dress the hoagie up and make the hoagie something that is not. No, hoagie. Hoagie is, synonymous with our city. So I was really excited.
SEPTA saw increases as well. I think one of their busiest days was on June 25th, which was a Thursday. It was for one of the matches. And a 33% increase compared to like an average Thursday. Hotel occupancy rates, nearly 90% on July 4th weekend. And short-term rentals also saw an increase. a lot of that, like you just mentioned, that is attracting people back into the city, right? Come again next year. Come again in a few months. I want to talk about the residents because some residents, some business owners, they said, we didn't get to see some of this increase in activity. How would you respond to that?
I would respond to that by saying we were very intentional with building out a strategy for 250 that would make sure it touched every neighborhood in the city. Now, listen to me. Everyone has a right to their experience and, what it meant for them and or to them. I can't counter anything that someone tells you about how they felt about this. This is what I know. Everything that we've planned in the city, we've made sure that it touched every neighborhood. So, we didn't just host FIFA World Cup or America's 250. We used this as an opportunity to demonstrate in a tangible way that people could see, touch, and feel that this was what One Philly looked like. So I want you to think about this. The success wasn't just in the attendance. Like, that's important because we need bodies here because those are the people who will spend the money. 51 Philadelphia artists and musicians, they were paid to perform. That's the heart of our arts and culture community. More than 500 jobs were created and more than 3,000. I'm thinking about these ambassadors. I don't know if you ran into them on the city, but they were just like hot. They were like the anchors of everything. More than 3,000 volunteers welcome visitors from around the world. So, and let's go back to hotels. Hotels saw revenue increase by more than 50% during 6 match days. Restaurants, museums, neighborhood commercial quarters, small businesses, all of that benefited not just visitors, but, our residents.
When can we expect that full report on the economic impact of all these summer events? And where will the money go?
So when you look at the economic impact, and we have just issued an RFP, I think it was last week, because the economic impact study, it will not be produced by the city of Philadelphia proper. Why, Mayor? Did you think that we needed to go out and find a third-party independent verifying firm that is gold standard in measuring economic impact for events like this? Because I wanted no one to question the internal validity of the research. So I said, put out an RFP, make sure the best in the business around the world knows about it, promote it. So we should have that by the end of the year. Now remember, we're still in the midst of our activities. Don't forget, we also had the Roots Picnic. That was 80,000 people.
Did you go to the Roots Picnic? I went. Yeah.
I was there both days.
Okay.
That's my generation.
Okay.
All right. That was hot. But I also want to note for the record that even this economic impact fiscal analysis that we're talking about, that's standard operating procedure in my administration. I don't care what has happened. If it had a significant fiscal impact on our city but was not included in our budget, I do a comprehensive report so that I can empower the tool of transparency. People can see where every dollar and every cent was invested, and we will do that at the conclusion. But that's my standard. That's what I have established. So I don't care if you go to the plane crash. You remember we had a plane crash? I don't know if you remember the weather emergency that we had. Now I'm talking about the snow and the ice that wasn't like any other snow and ice for that. That many days in a row here. Then the burst, the micro burst that we just experienced, that was a tragedy in West Philadelphia, in Southwest Philadelphia. Any kind of emergency like that, or anything that's had a fiscal impact for the city, my team know that it is the standard at the conclusion to make sure that we have a fiscal analysis, because Philadelphians deserve to know how their tax dollars are being sent. And that's not a gift to anybody. That's my responsibility as the mayor. As taxpayers, I have a right to know. I'm a taxpayer too and a lifelong resident. I have a right to know how my tax dollars are being spent. So I'm excited about it. And when people see the return on investment, even with the critics. I mean, Cherelle,
because people have criticized the over $15 million spent on the concert on July 4th, which I'm curious to know. You talked about legacy and you rebranded it as One Philly Unity Concert for America. Why was that important for you to rebrand it? And yeah, how do you respond when people ask you, why do we need $15 million for some fireworks and a concert?
So one, let me state for the record that every dollar and cent that was invested in that concert, you will have an analysis of it. And I have to do a little rewind here. I need to go back to when Michael Nutter was the mayor of the city of Philadelphia. I remember going to his inaugural party. It was down at the Navy Yard, and he had a Philly group that was well known in our city, but I don't think during that time their global prominence was as significant as it is now. But we knew how bad they were because they came from us.
You talking about the Roots?
I'm talking about the Roots. I'm talking about Quest. I'm talking about Black Thought. They are our native sons. So Mayor Nutter has them work on his inaugural, and then every year when we have our July 4th celebration, it was the Roots and Scott Merkin from ESM. Those entities got together and they used to produce these amazing 4th of July. I'm talking about legendary concerts on the 4th of July. Well, Michael Nutter's here for 8 years and they do that work. Mayor Jim Kenney comes in and Mayor Jim Kenney says, new mayor comes in January. That's 6 months. July is 7. That's the 7th month. Of course, they're prepping for the concert. They're told, "Oh, we know what you've been doing. Thanks, but no thanks. We're moving in another direction." Now, was I aware of all of this? I was a state legislator. I had been a member of council. I wasn't aware of these dynamics. But Mayor Jim Kenney came in and he said, "We're not working with you all anymore. I'm moving this city in another direction, and we're going to work through." The organization was Welcome.
Welcome America.
Welcome America. And Wawa was the title sponsor. And that was whether I liked it or not, whether or not I thought it was appropriate for you to take away an opportunity to have native Philadelphians, our most prominent, some of celebrities, entertainers, and quite frankly, creative geniuses. There was nothing wrong with what they were producing. As a matter of fact, their work, the quality of their work is of the highest standards. He made an executive decision. So whether I like it or not, he did it. So then Cherelle Parker comes. And I say, okay, we're producing what we're producing for 2024, 2025. We'll make it work. But for 2026, when we are the number one global travel destination in the United States, not because I said it, but the Wall Street Journal, the Times, every entity that you could think of, I'm going to make sure our city does something magical. It will be a legacy experience like we've never had before, especially because I can't have a legacy project like the Ben Franklin Bridge or the Please Touch. And so we say, we hope you all would consider coming back and applying for the opportunity to present this concert for America's 250. I am grateful, and I want to say a special thank you right now to Scott Merkin from ESM, to Quest, and all of the Roots, to Sean G, and Live Nation Urban. The three of those entities work together, and they produce a concert, even considering the weather, that Philadelphia, the world will be talking about forever when they think about 250 years. So for the people who agree to disagree about it, you've never seen a stage. This was broadcast over Paramount. It was streamed. That's a global stream. And we are the birthplace of democracy. We've never had a global stream like that. When we had done it before, maybe, in the Philadelphia area, you get bits and pieces, maybe a little bit in Buckchester, Delaware. But this was a global audience with all of what we were doing. So do I apologize for the amazing lineup that included hip hop, R&B, country, every jazz? No, it needed to be reflective of Philadelphia. I'm proud of what they produce. And a special thank you, I don't know their names, but these are the people who produced the Super Bowl. When people looked at that stage and they saw the branding, definitely intentional about the branding, we are one Philly.
We've got more with Mayor Parker after the break. All this happens, right? And relatively speaking, during the summer, things have been safe.
Oh, wow. Imagine that.
What's driving the decline? Shootings are going down, continue to remain at historic lows. What's driving that decline? And besides that numbers, what sorts of data do you look at, Mayor, to know if public safety is in fact improving for residents and for guests that come in?
Trenae, one, thank you for affirming it and saying it out loud. This is what I know. If the city of Philadelphia were still looking at those historic highs in gun violence and homicide in our city, I know it would be all my fault and a responsibility. You would hear everybody in the world saying it's her poor leadership. But in this instance, this is just the opposite. I promised Philadelphia, one, I wouldn't be afraid to make the tough decisions that were needed to bring some order back to our city. And if they gave me a chance to lead, I don't know if you remember my platform, I would make Philly the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the nation with economic opportunity for all. And we're making good on that promise. And the numbers don't lie. So you are right. 60-year low in violent crime and homicides right here in the city of Philadelphia. I didn't say 10 years, 20 years. I said a 60-year low. How did this all happen? Was it one thing? Absolutely not. And Trenae, if you talk to anybody, and I'll debate them, you call me if you hear anyone say this. If anyone acknowledges and says there is one thing that was done to make Philadelphia safer, I know they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's a comprehensive strategy that you often hear me refer to as the pie. And again, I introduced a plan about it when I was in city council, and I implemented it with my leadership. That pie is an acronym for prevention, intervention, and enforcement. So the prevention and intervention is essential, but so is the accountability. So the pie is prevention, intervention, and enforcement. First, we have to have leaders who understand the assignment. Don't tell me about what was done in the past. I have a new strategy here. We're going to hold people accountable. Retail theft in our neighborhoods, because I think people would always talk about downtown. Who cares about Rite Aid? Who cares about Wawa when people just run into Wawa, groups of people running into Wawa, running into other retail outlets, just taking what they want and leaving. Not on Parker's watch, because I'm going to get a police commissioner and he's going to lead the department, and we're going to make sure that accountability is essential. You can't tell us that if you go and do that happening, and I'm telling you, these were responses that people gave me on the trail. Rite Aid, and I've heard it, Rite Aid and Walmart, they have insurance. They said liability insurance. I said, okay, you're talking about Rite Aid and Wawa. Guess who I'm talking about? I'm talking about Shiny. I'm talking about Steph. I'm talking about Claudia. And I'm talking about Kia. Guess who those are? These are 4 Black women own boutiques, all on Germantown Avenue, from Mount Airy through Chestnut Hill. And I know them all well because I shop in their places. As a matter of fact, they're right near Green Tree, where's my thrift shop,
yes,
my consignment shop that I go to. You imagine if we let people go into their stores and steal merchandise and say, oh, they have insurance. Those women couldn't be able to survive as small business owners. So that accountability was important. It's also quality of life issues in neighborhoods. When people started talking about like the car meetups, they would talk about things, takeovers in neighborhoods. Don't get me to talking about, so community policing was important. I said all of that to say accountability is essential as well. When I talked about having community policing, I remember people saying, oh, it's done. She's over with it. I said, why? Because I want a proactive, presence of law enforcement in our neighborhood, and I want them there the way they used to be there when I grew up without us having to call 911? What about when officers walked the beat and rode bikes and they got to know the communities they were sworn to protect and serve without there being a crisis? So that put them there as guardians and not warriors.
And some people have really questioned that relationship, especially during Pride weekend.
So this is what I'll say now. I want to specifically reference the Pride weekend. Number one, this was the first year. Remember, it was moved to the parade was moved to the Parkway, and it was a success. That is what was communicated. That is what when you hear me talk about FIFA World Cup, MLB, we have what we call a OEM command center, and that's where all of our stakeholders are. And you have a planning committee. Well, in this instance, Pride. Remember, a lot of activity was directly in the neighborhood, but we planned for the Parkway where most of the activity would be. And that's what we planned for. I would argue that there was a more significant amount of activity in the neighborhood, and we weren't on the same page as it related to the size of the activity that was there. Like in our mind, we're shifting to the Parkway, but then you have such a large amount, a significant amount of activity taking place that should have been better coordinated. With that being said, let me say this to you. I've also been clear with the police department, and this is what they know about me. Yes, I support proactive community policing, but I have said to them that I have zero tolerance. You hear me? Zero tolerance for any misuse or abuse of authority by the police department in any way, shape, or form. Zero tolerance. So whenever it is identified, rest assured that we have the best police commissioner in the nation under Kevin Bethel. And he too has zero tolerance for any misuse or abuse of authority. So the last part of the public safety that I have to get on record is you have to talk about the Office of Public Safety. I know other cities are just starting to do this kind of thing, but Philadelphia has been ahead of the curve and we don't acknowledge it. We have an Office of Public Safety led by Adam Gear that coordinates everything public safety that is outside of enforcement of the police department. So those community-based grassroots organizations that we talked about, $25 million every year since I've been the mayor in anti-violence funding to those orgs, about 150 of them across the city. I'm thinking about Level Up. I'm thinking about all of these different organizations. They are doing amazing work, but don't forget about what I caught hell for, that I don't hear people talking about much anymore, because I built what didn't exist and it's still here and I'm still fighting it, but I caught hell for doing it. What is it? I built out a wellness ecosystem to address the issue of substance use disorder and addiction with fentanyl and the opioid crisis and what was happening in Kensington. That also impacts street homelessness, and
which is down in recent numbers. We got recent numbers that homelessness is down in the city.
Yeah, not by a coincidence. How about that comprehensive strategy? And we built out a wellness ecosystem that didn't exist prior to my being here. What did it focus on? Long-term care, treatment, and housing. And we know we can address these things, but you have to be intentional, and there has to be a strategy in the big table. I want the listening audience to know the room that we're sitting in right now doing this interview is my cabinet room. This is the room where the leaders of every department come and sit and meet with me. This is where we hold our cabinet. You're sitting in my seat.
Oh, this is your seat.
This is my seat.
Oh.
I sit there. No,
okay.
We don't do that head of the table stuff.
Okay.
We sit in the middle with all of our leaders around us. And these are the kinds of tables that we build when we are doing anything. So from wellness ecosystem, what we're doing in Kensington, Riverview.
And how do you know that those efforts are working?
Oh, we know that the wellness court. We had the Supreme Court down here not long ago, along with members of the First Judicial District and our team looking at our Kensington wellness ecosystem. So we have a court now. So it's no longer anything goes. We don't do encampments. We make sure you get connected to supports that you need from a public health perspective, and also mental and behavioral health supports. Just that holistic approach. So you check out Philly Stat 360 where you can see how we're doing with our services, but the qualitative data is more important to me than anything. And people may not like what I'm about to say, but it's me. Maya Angelou says that in life, people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. You know what's most important for me? How many more people are sitting on the steps, the front steps of their houses? How many people are taking a walk to the corner store in their neighborhood? How many people have said, I'm going to have a cookout and invite people to my house because I feel that my block, my community is safer and it's visibly cleaner. No more Philadelphia. It's cleaner. Those are qualitative returns on investments that I don't, listen, the keyboard warriors on social media, I can't stop them from saying what they say. They got a right to express their opinion.
Oh yeah, people
and
go
communicate
off. People
it.
go off.
And listen, there's a lot of people do extremely well. I didn't know this. Did you know that you can make money by the amount of what do you call it?
Views and likes.
Did you know? No, I mean literally, like it's a career for some.
Yeah, content creation. Yeah.
So you knew about this.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Mayor Parker.
Well, let me tell you something. I've learned I'm hot. I'll just leave it there.
Well, I want to real quickly because we are running out of time, and I feel like we could keep talking for like another hour. But one of the other promises, or one of your visions for the city, is home. This is your initiative to create 30,000 units, repair homes. It's pretty complicated, I think, for the average Philadelphian. It's complicated for me sometimes. Where are we in this process? Because this is a process that's been going back and forth. City council, has to approve certain parts of the financial investments that go into this plan. They've pushed back to make sure that low-income residents were included in this plan. So where are we currently with this plan? Help me to understand as a Philadelphian, and make it plain.
Just got to do a little level setting.
Okay.
With something you just mentioned, Trenae. The holistic plan to address housing that I introduced is the largest and most significant and most comprehensive investment in housing in the history of the city of Philadelphia. When I introduced my home plan, HOME is an acronym for Housing Opportunities Made Easy. And the goal is to build and preserve 30,000 units of housing in the city of Philadelphia, along with that intergovernmental cooperation. I need to affirm it. We've been working with Kelvin Jeremiah. This is important to affirm. While we have our 30,000 that we're focused on, Kelvin Jeremiah is the president of PHA. That's the Philadelphia Housing Authority. That is for people who need deeply affordable housing. I'm talking about 30% of the AMI. That's the area median income and or lower. That's public housing. They have a goal to do 20,000 units. Mm-hmm. So you add the 30 in the home plan that I introduced, and then the 20,000 of deeply affordable units of public housing, and that is 50,000 units of housing. It's at this scale and amount, it's never happened. So this idea that anybody had to tell me that, low to moderate income Philadelphians need to benefit that was included in my plan. The discussion was about who and when would particular constituencies be eligible for the funding, in particular for the preservation, which is basic systems home repair. That's what we refer to as BSRP.
So it's like electric and plumbing and heating
Your roof,
fixes, roofing, yeah.
Your bricks getting pointed. Well,
as well as like the adaptive housing, right?
adaptive
For folks
mod.
with permanent disabilities.
Oh, Trenae, I like that you've done your homework because a lot of people talk about things and they've never done their homework, but it is BSRP and adaptive mod.
I've been up for a long time and had a couple coffees.
No. So,
Yeah.
but you are right. The question was, and this is what, and I'm still adamant about this because this is, I think, why we ended up in such a quagmire and behind the eight ball as it related to housing in the city, is because traditionally policies in this city by mayors and legislative branches, as far as I'm concerned, have been focused on pitting the have-nots against those who have just a little bit. So you know the neighborhood where Simon's Recreation Center is where I grew up. That's not a rich neighborhood. That's a blue-collar, working-class community where a whole lot of people are like me, product of humble beginnings, first-generation college graduates. So that's not for rich people, but they became homeowners. And those row houses, they symbolize self-sufficiency for a generation of Philadelphians, and I'm committed to ensuring that happens. So think about building houses. First, Philly, I want you to know where I am as it relates to the numbers. I committed to 30,000 units, and I do want you to know that right now we are nearing 14,000 units of housing via our home program if you measure our activity. So I'm really excited about that, and we do that by permits, secured through licenses and inspections. It was an $800 million bond issuance. We just brought the first $400 million of authorized bonds. We've already exceeded 14,000 units toward that goal. So wait a minute. Philadelphia neighborhoods have a great deal of character, but we're about to do something in the fall.
And what's that?
When we announced home, I think even my staff probably thought I was crazy. I know people in the country, when I was going around different conferences and I'm talking about it, I said, we're going to do it in Philadelphia. You can't just build and or preserve and think that that's going to help renters become homeowners. You want me to tell you what the major barrier is? Getting approved for a mortgage. What if you're a product of humble beginnings like me and you had less than perfect credit? What if your credit score isn't high enough? What if your debt to income ratio is out of whack because you had, like me, student loans you had to pay, family members you had to support? I'm not a trust fund kid. When you have to earn, you survive how you have to survive. Well, I said, think about those people who go to work every day. And I'm thinking about city workers in particular. How do you go to work every day? How do you be a home health aide and go to work every day outside the city or work anywhere every day? And you live here, but the American dream of home ownership is out of reach. We've always had a high rate of home ownership in Philadelphia, especially among Black and brown communities and in low to moderate income communities. I said, I'm going to create a mortgage program. And people are like, how's the city going to create a mortgage program? Well, because I already had a model I developed when I was in council. It was called RRR, Restore, Repair, Renew, to help people who couldn't walk into a bank and get a home repair loan because preservation was important. Well, because of my credit, maybe I can't walk into a bank and fill out the application and they give me a home repair loan. I couldn't get qualified. We did RRR. I said, home ownership is important. I want a mortgage program where our people can apply, and even if you have less than perfect credit, you'll still be able to get approval. As long as you have a job, you have to have the ability to repay.
And you're going to roll this out in the fall?
Listen, Philadelphia, when we do it, I want you to know, just like historic record lows and homicides and gun violence in the city, we will become the first city in the nation to have this mortgage program.
One of my last questions, Mayor Parker, and again, please come back to the show. And
will you have me back?
Yes.
Well,
yeah,
all right.
I'm
getting ready. I'm getting ready to ask something, and somebody's gonna say you can't do that. Well, I would like to. Can you give me a mayor's moment? Can you all build me into your calendar? Where do you do this like once a week, or
we do this show every day.
So you mean you could build me in where I can come on once a month or maybe
And
even
do
twice a month?
and do
A recap?
a recap of like what's been going on in the city.
I commit to you, because we didn't get through everything. I didn't talk about Turn the Key. That's another program. Philly First, home. I want to finally, with housing, let me say this. If you all know of a developer who's trying to build anything, I don't care if it's big or small, what developers have to put together is what's called a capital stack. The capital stack is your funding. How much did you borrow? How many investors do you have? What have they contributed? How are you going to make this project happen? Developers have to put together a capital stack. Well, we are going to have one Philly stacks. We're going to have a one Philly stack for homeowners. We're going to have a one Philly stack for renters. Because right now, although we used to have a high rate of home ownership in this, okay, but we're leveled now. And I'm not, that's not acceptable to me. I want to see those home ownership numbers go up. Well, if you want to, especially when you see how much people are paying in rent. Philadelphia, you're paying in rent, you're paying a mortgage. And some of the rents that people tell me about, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800, a month for a one bedroom, like apartment, that is mortgage money. But you listen, when you don't know what you don't know, and government hasn't stepped up to help you to provide a tool that will put you on a path to self-sufficiency, you don't even know that the opportunity is available. So I'm going to work to these numbers, turn the key. Why is this important? People hear that a new home costs around $280,000. That sounds like a lot, and it's like out of reach. But this is what they don't know. With support from the city, with existing programs, many buyers can finance their house under $200,000. How do they do it? You heard me talk, a program is called Turn the Key. It was the brainchild of former Council President Darrell Clark and Council President Johnson and we love it. We get people via Turn the Key. An average Turn the Key buyer, guess how much they earn? Are they rich? No. The average buyer earns about $54,000 a year.
And what else do you want to accomplish in these coming months?
One, I want to take these programs across the city so that people know it doesn't matter who you are or where you are from. These opportunities are available to you, and you don't need a hookup. And I want to close the gap between the haves and the have-nots and put people on a path to self-sufficiency. Trenae, that's important for me. Dignity doesn't come from getting everything for free. I want to create more homeowners, and I want people to have a government that they can see, touch, and feel. If somebody's running for office and they're just giving you a speech, but you can't measure, especially if they served before, you got to be able to measure their work. What's your portfolio? Tell me what have you tangibly delivered? What can I see, touch, and feel how's my life changed? What you do for my block? What you do for my community? And that's what I'm really interested in, making sure I take that message across the city, because I'm proud of my team, not just Cherelle Parker, mayor, first woman, 341 years. No, this is about the team of people, my chief of staff, Tiffany Thurman, chief deputy mayor, Vanessa Garrett Harley, my entire cabinet, Carlton Williams, our director of Clean and Green. And so listen, everybody hears me quote James Baldwin. And James Baldwin would say, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. I feel the same way about Philadelphians. I don't simply want you to listen to what I say. I want you to watch what I do and what I have already done. And I'm proud of being able to say to Philadelphia, go to Philly Stat 360, which also didn't exist before I got here, where you can measure how successful we've been or where we failed in different areas that we committed to you that we would be successful. But I wanted to empower the tool of transparency because I want you to measure me. That's one of our most valued freedoms, is we get a right to say, you did this right or you did this wrong. You asked to lead this city. You asked for our vote. So the pressure is a privilege. as it relates to what I do.
So you have no problem as answering tough questions about your relationships with council or even with the trash thing. Like sometimes our blocks get dirty again. So that's okay with
Trenae,
you.
Guess what? If you don't, you are not fulfilling your duty as a citizen of the city of Philadelphia. Now, full disclosure, while I will accept the criticism and I want to hear the constructive criticism, let me also say that I have very low tolerance for performative outrage from electeds. Performative in that, they become what I call expert AOPs. And this is an acronym that I use that is for expert AOPs, or expert articulators of problems. They sound really smart talking about the problem. They can go around in circles talking about the problem. But I've been an offensive player my entire life. I'm a fixer and I'm a doer. So my job is to proffer solutions. And that means when you proffer a solution that comes from the ground up, you can only proffer a solution when you're connected to the people. That's why my humble beginnings, people say, well, what's your greatest asset? What's your greatest strength as mayor? I didn't know it when I was growing up, but it's being born to a single teenage mother. It's being raised by my grandparents who were on welfare and collected food stamps and cash assistance to take care of me. It's having to, work when I was 12 years old and learning that hard work and self-sufficiency, that's where pride and dignity comes from. It was losing my mother when I was 11, losing my grandmother when I was 16, my father not being in my life, and then having a village of people like the Oak Lane Wildcats coaches and my cheerleading track coaches, teachers in school saying, oh, but we see something in you. We know this is where you come from, and this may not have been the perfect familial background or upbringing, but Lord knows that experience and who you are as your authentic self. I won't wear a mask for anybody else. I'm not perfect. Yes, the mayor misspelled Eagles. I talk about it 2 years or a year after it's happened and everybody falls out, because I also know that I'm human and I don't come off as I'm Cherelle Parker, the mayor, and I'm very perfect and this is who I am. That would be BS, and people who know me would know that is not the Cherelle we know. We're going to try to do things, and sometimes we're going to do them extremely well. Sometimes what we do, we may not be as successful, but see, I get up and I keep going. So am I human? Do you like hearing people trash you? And, with all of, the criticism? No, it doesn't feel good, but I will tell you that it does strongly encourage, me, because it's like people saying growing up, someone like you, she's not a trust fund kid. She doesn't come from a prominent, political, distinguished, wealthy family in the city of Philadelphia. Who is she to ever think that she should be the mayor of this city? You're never going to outwork me, and I'm going to earn the seat to be at any table that I am at in my life, and that's been my formula. It's why I'm here, and I'm here because Philly gave me a chance.
Are you talking about anyone in particular? Are we gonna wrap up on that one?
I said I would come back.
Come back.
I said that I would come back.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Parker.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. I'm really looking forward to having more conversations with Mayor Parker. If you enjoyed this episode, share this with a friend. Also, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Philly. And I am so excited to meet some of our neighbors tonight at our members-only event. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Talk to you then. Bye.